Register?
Here comes Cole.
Oh, there we go.
Here,
Yeah.
Here.
Are you here?
here now.
He said here.
Okay, Colt is here.
Yes.
Alright.
Okay, district update, re-engagement grant. Who's that? Oh, okay.
That's
Hey,
Welcome.
that's a newbie.
Yeah, well, newbie, but not newbie.
Yeah, I know.
You know, it is kind of, does feel new getting up here and talking in front of everybody when I can't see your facial expressions.
We can take our mask down.
That's a weird experience, you know. Can you back up a little bit? It's a the end of last school year, to be honest with you. What is re-engagement? Re-engagement is reaching students who we identified as having low or in some cases no participation last year during our spring NTI. We had some students who started off doing really well, turning in assignments, and then by the end of the NTI time period, were doing nothing. We had some students who pretty much did nothing the whole time. Okay, we had different levels of participation, and it really, it got to be a problem towards the end, and we knew this was going to be a problem. So in the spring, I believe in May of 2020, the district created a document called the Potential Learning Gap Document, and we asked teachers to go in and identify by subject area the learning gaps that they anticipated would come out of NTI. And we also asked them to break it down to the individual student level and identify students who they had had very little work from, or in some cases no work at all, during the NTI period. And that data is a little bit disturbing because, especially in the secondary grades, grades 6 through 12, about 20% of our students were classified as low participation or non-participation. Yes, that's not good data. However, there are a lot of reasons that go into that, okay? So one of the reasons, and this is not going to come as any big news to you all, is that about 25% of our student population does not have access to reliable internet service. We've talked about that. That's a well-known fact here. And we know this is true because we took another survey in March called the Student Home Internet Access Survey, and that's what the students themselves told us. Another reason is lack of reliable devices. We surveyed about 2,700 students, and 2,100 of them indicated that they did have a Chromebook, a laptop, a desktop, which means about 700 of them had nothing to access the internet with. And if they did have something, many of them indicated it was just their cell phone. Well, NTI classwork is very difficult to do from a cell phone. So we know that that was a reason why many of them did not participate. A third reason, and this is also not going to be surprising, is a lack of motivation and support. We have a report that we use here in the district called the Chronic Absenteeism Report. And basically that is a report that you could run at the local school level. I use it as a principal a lot, where you can see who has missed about 10% or more of the school year. Okay, that's about, 17, 18 absences per school year. There is a very strong correlation between the students that show up on that chronic absenteeism report and the students who are on the low participation to no participation report on the GAP document, especially in the secondary grades, especially at Greenup County High School. 93% of the students that are on the low, 93% of the low participating students in the 9th grade also on the chronic absenteeism report. 83% of the 10th graders were on it, and 96% of the 11th graders. Okay, so that's also part of it. All right. Another thing that factors into it is the loss of the connection. There are a lot of students in this district, especially students with disabilities, who depend on that relationship with their teacher. They don't learn very well just reading an assignment in a packet or reading it on the computer. They need that teacher to help break the content down with them or give them that encouragement and the support that they need to get the assignment done. And because so many of them, some of them were unreachable or sporadically reachable, they didn't get that connection that they needed. And then we have home life factors. If you live in a house where there's food insecurity and instability, it's going to be hard for you to get your work done. If you are an older sibling and you have 3 or 4 little younger siblings that you have to take care of, it's going to be hard for you to get your work done. If your parents are gone working all the time, there's no one there to help you or give you assistance or even giving you encouragement, it's going to be hard for you to get your work done. Okay, so that factors into it as well. And then the last reason, which I think is a pretty significant one as well, is there was a lack of accountability. And there was a lot of reasons for that too. But if you think about it, when we went into NTI, we did it in a matter of 2 days. Administrators were brought in and we said, this is what's going to happen, get ready for it. Teachers had about 24 hours to get ready to do something they'd never done before. So they started off trying to really, like gangbusters, trying to put out lots of assignments and all this kind of stuff, but we quickly realized kids couldn't keep up with it. So they had to back off, and guidance from the state changed quite a bit during the NTI process. So what started off as being really high expectations kept getting lowered and lowered, and by the end, there was not accountability from the students. And it was hard from the teachers really to hold the students accountable because there were such differing levels of participation out there. So, what are we going to do about this? Well, the first step is we're making everybody accountable. Students are accountable, teachers are accountable, parents are accountable. And in the trainings that we have created for the teachers tomorrow, that's one of the things we're going to be going over. Sort of like a student-teacher-parent compact, what you have to agree upon to make sure that this is more successful this time around than it was in the spring of 2020. We're creating school-level teams to keep contact with students. We have teachers that will be tracking work, submitting tracking work that is submitted, and instructional aides will be assisting with the outreach, making phone calls, emails, text messages. And we actually developed this flow chart. Sorry, Amanda. That's okay. To help make this more clear for teachers, what the expectations are and what happens if certain situations arise. So the first chart is the long-term NTI re-engagement for non-contact students. This is the scary part, is that there were kids that we didn't hear from March through May, basically. You might get some real sporadic communication, but nothing consistent. Home visits might take place and nobody answers the door. There was some situations like that. So this flow chart was designed to deal with situations like that. So when contact can't be established for 3 days, the name is turned over to an instructional assistant. The instructional assistant tries for 2 days to make contact. If contact is made, great, there's no further issues. If they're unable to make contact, that name then gets turned over to the building administrator. If contact is made, but there are still some concerns, then that name is still going to get referred to the building administrator. And then you've got a few scenarios there. If the principal tries to call and contact is made, there's no further issues, wonderful. If that child has an IEP or a 504 plan, when the principal makes contact, they're going to schedule an ARC meeting. And after that ARC meeting, if there are no further issues, wonderful. If issues continue, then there's going to be a home visit. If the principal is unable to contact a child or their parents at all, that's going to get directly referred to the DPP. And the DPP is going to do a home visit to make sure that everything's okay at that house. If the principal is able to make contact but still suspects some issues, then there's going to be a home visit by the principal, the Frisky, probably the SRO as well, and a teacher. Go out to the home and let's check on this child. If issues are evident, we're gonna have to refer that to CPS. Both Aaron may have to do it as well if he discovers issues at the home, and the principal may have to do it as well. That's for students we cannot make contact with. For students that we're making contact with them, we're pretty sure that they're well, they're okay, they're just not doing their work. So 3 consecutive days without work submitted, teacher gives names to the designated instructional assistant. Then the instructional assistant attempts to make contact with the student to provide assistance and see why they are not completing the work. If the work is received within 2 days, great. If no work is received, then the names are turned over to the building administrator, who makes contact with the parent. If that child has an IEP or a 504, a meeting is convened. If the meeting is convened and they start turning their work in, that's great. If you're still not getting any work, no work received, no contact with parents can be made, a second attempt is made to inform that a home visit will occur if work is not submitted. So it's like you give them another opportunity to get that work in. And then if it doesn't happen, that triggers a home visit by the principal and a frisky person and instructional assistant. And then depending on what you discover at the home, or if you're still not getting work turned in, you may have to turn that in for educational neglect. Okay? So that's what I mean about making everybody accountable. That's part of the puzzle. Some other things that we have done to try to address re-engagement you know about already: establishing Wi-Fi hotspots out in the community, and also taking care of devices through the Chromebook loaner program. Another thing is that we're changing how we're going to do things in Greenup County when it comes to NTI. Instead of just keeping the buildings completely empty and not seeing the students at all, we are going to specifically target those students that need extra help, that need supports, who we're not getting work from, who we need to re-engage. And we're going to bring them in for small group instruction and tutoring based on need. We're going to be making home visits to students who need behavior monitoring and reinforcements and academic supports. The PASS teams, like the PASS team at Workman Middle School, the PASS team at Greenup County High School, the PASS team at McHale Middle School, are going to go out and see some of these kids that they've been working with to make sure that they're still getting the strategies, they're getting that reinforcement, the parents know how to work with them, because sometimes when they don't have that consistent interaction with the teacher, things can start to digress a little bit. Offering staggered times for tutoring to help students who have trouble coming during the day, so have some evening sessions as well. We're going to be delivering meals, we're going to be delivering toolkits for the Greenup County ACT Center, and we're going to be making mental health services available at school and also for home visits. And hopefully, we're going to get the student re-engagement grant. That's what I've been working on for about 2 weeks now. We're applying for a mini grant through the state to directly target students who have been disengaged due to NTI and the COVID-19 pandemic. It's not a fortune, it's $50,000, but we can use that money to cover transportation and travel costs, to bus students into the schools, to send teams out to their homes to work with identified students weekly, and also to be used for supply kits for students and parents that will be designed to help students that have behavioral and academic needs. And the deadline is Friday. So I have been working on that a lot the last couple of weeks. So I think we have a really good chance. I just hope that they think our need is sufficient enough and we can get the grant.
And to add to Amanda's statements about where we were as far as percentage, we actually were doing pretty well compared to other districts as far as engagement. So it has been an issue statewide whenever you send people home on March 13th, you know, that's kind of going to happen with everyone. So I just applaud Amanda because she's really been digging into this, and I'll just swing by and spurt out an idea and then leave her, and she comes up with flow charts and all that stuff. So I really appreciate all the extra work, and she's been working with Aaron about what can you do, what's legal, what can we have help with. So there's been a lot of thought process. And poor Tommy has really been doing some math on fuel cost. So so we really appreciate that.
Well, just to kind of showed that it's a statewide need, is that this grant, when it started out, it was for dropout prevention. And then, well, they sent it out to everybody again and said, well, now you can add re-engagement from COVID-19. So I think that they weren't getting a lot of hits on the dropout prevention. It was more of this that people have the need for, so. And luckily, our district was very proactive. We started collecting data before we even went home for NTI, because we kind of saw about a week or two ahead of time, okay, we might start needing to survey how much technology access these kids have at home. So I've been able to access data we have from early March that we wouldn't have had if we hadn't been proactive about some of these things. It's been very helpful. Any questions?
Toolkits you was talking about for technical school, what is that?
Well, they do project-based learning primarily in the ATCs. And a lot of those kids are in, they're in programs where they need to get industry certifications and they need to pass assessments and things like that. So depending on how long we're on NTI, they can't afford just to do safety paperwork the whole time. What we benefited from some last year was the fact that they'd already taken those assessments, a lot of them. So this year, if we're starting on the front end with NTI, we have to figure out a way to allow them to work on some of this stuff at home. And they just don't have a lot of them access to the tools and stuff that they're gonna need. So Sarah Martha is gonna create a toolkit for the programs that we can deliver out to these kids.
It's
So
like
they
something
can,
they check out and bring
Yeah.
back, or,
yeah,
okay. A loaner system.
Yeah.
Okay, the only other question I had was the pods where we're talking about bringing kids in.
Yes,
Didn't you say you needed to get a, okay,
we're good with it.
you got that?
Believe it or not, we did not have to request it. About a week later, he came out with a resolution saying we could do it. So evidently, I wasn't the only one. I thought I was original, but I guess I'm not. So,
You were original
Oh,
to the
you're
district.
original.
Yeah.
well,
Well,
we socially distanced 10 students or less per group, you know.
I think their main thought on that was more for therapies and special education, but we're going to extend that thought into all areas. So we're going to take advantage of it.
Good deal.
Could you send us a copy of that presentation? If you don't care, just be something to, might be questions.
Had one of them moments.
Those retirement moments.
I had this. I accidentally called somebody by the wrong name today. I'll fill you in later, but yes, I had a moment.
Happens to the best of us. You want me to come back to you?
No, it's all right. I'll figure it out eventually.
So, I'm assuming there's no delegations.
Thank you, Amanda.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yes,
Very
thank
good.
you, Amanda.
Been working
Sorry.
hard on that.
Thank you and your staff for putting that together.
That was a great presentation, very
Yeah.
informative and really makes,
Makes
I think
sense.
everybody here knew you all were working super hard, but just to see it down on paper, to see how we're gonna take care of these kids that need that extra bit of attention.
We put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, you can tell.
All right, thanks,
Thank you.
Amanda.
Acknowledgement of personnel actions, we don't have to approve that, correct? We're just acknowledging it. Could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Anybody have anything they would need to pull out of there and talk about? Nothing? All right, all those in favor? I just got an error. All right, next up. Sorry, having computer difficulties. Make sure I'm on the right thing. Okay, next up, please consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracey to approve the emergency reading of the interim KSBA policy update on sexual harassment as submitted. I get a motion? Mr. Cotton, second? I'll make,
Second.
Mr. Warnick? Questions?
We've been through this twice,
Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, consider the recommendation of Superintendent Racy to approve non-resident contracts with the districts of Ashland Independent, Boyd County, Carter County, Fairview Independent, Lewis County, Russell Independent, and final order with Raceland Independent as submitted. Can I get a motion? Mr. Warnick, I'll second that. Any questions? Was that you?
No.
Oh, who was it?
Royster.
Sorry, Mr. Royster.
These
It sounded like
masks,
it,
these
this
masks,
mask,
they know
yes.
your
It
voice.
sounded like it came right from there. Okay, sorry, Mr. Royster. I'll second that. Questions? No questions? All those in favor?
Are these all the same?
No,
No.
'Cause I couldn't get,
especially the race one.
well, that's what the one I was trying to look at, but I couldn't get it to come up.
How's
I
that going?
have to pull up.
We got a max, we have
We have a final
83
order,
for
so-
Russell's.
Pretty much
That was last year.
Right.
84.
Did you have a question on that, Ms. Wellman?
No, I was just trying to get it to come up to see what the difference was.
So we're just.
With Raceland between 2012 and 2013, those years, and 1920, the students who attended
It
Raceland
goes down right here.
from our district, those students can remain in the district and their siblings,
Yeah, we know all
as
that.
long as the siblings reside in the household of the students who attended Raceland during that time frame. And so,
We were just wondering the number, what the number's gonna be this year.
well, currently we have approximately 137, we have 137 non-resident students attending Raceland. But the number's hard to determine because you have to factor in the siblings who
Yeah.
may or may not attend Raceland. And then if we have siblings who do attend Raceland, we have to verify that they are living in the household of that non-resident student who
I
attended.
just feel like it would be a lot harder to keep a knowledge of these numbers when we're doing school virtually. You know?
They have to submit a list to us,
Yeah,
the
we know
DPP
that.
from Raceland will, and then I will review that and cross-reference it with what we had last year. But we'll be able to keep up with it.
Okay, good.
So what was the number that they gave you?
Well, last year we had 130, 137 is the number that we are going to use going forward. There's 137 non-resident students.
That includes,
And the number last year was 124.
is less than 101 or something,
I would
probably.
say that there's some sort of.
And we started this debacle at 212, isn't
Yeah.
that right?
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know what we started at. No, I took out the children, the CDEs today, and that's what we had.
Is that,
Still at
137, is that including the CDs?
No, that's excluding CDEs.
That number's too high.
Wait, you think so?
That's it.
Hallelujah.
Well, we have a final order, it's in stone now, so
I
we have the
understand that.
names and.
We understand.
Yeah, we were down to 101 or
That,
100.
it was right around 100.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Have you verified the students on the list they gave you?
I did. I've had multiple conversations with their DPP, and I have it all documented from back in February when we began this conversations. I have several pages of correspondence that we had back and forth regarding the students on that list, where they lived, what district they belonged to.
Did you ask them how they got 137 when they were only supposed to have 100 last year? 100, whatever it was, 104 or something?
No, but what I can do is I can go back and look at those numbers again. I don't think it's wrong based on what we have.
It's supposed to go down every year, not up.
no,
Depends on people, if,
Let me look at it, let me review that, and I'll let Ms. Moracy know, and then she will let you, know what my number is, just in
Is it-
case I miss something.
But we are okay at least on how the contracts read,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yeah.
It just kind of sounds like we sprang a leak.
Yeah.
Yes.
and now didn't we,
I like that wording.
wasn't a order, didn't we change the date on the school age children? Didn't they all get grandfathered in again from April 22nd, 2019? Would that have changed any of that?
It's the students that attended Raceland from Greenup School District between 2012 and 13, 2019 and 20.
Yeah.
In 2019 and 20, my records indicate that we had 137 students attending Raceland from our district.
I know we got a copy of that, agreement, should be in the file that we sent last time, which shows the number that we had sent to for approval.
Of course, now we're going by the order of the administrative hearing officer.
Correct.
It's the Kentucky Board of Education's order. I have a copy of it, basically a summary of it, because it seems like you have some interest in that. But if you read,
I got this right here, it says it's one-to-one basis there.
this is what you want to look at.
Yeah. I got
Because this is what we're going to use. You all have that? See, I have the parentheses around that, just that full paragraph explains what's going on with
But one-to-one is not 134.
the order. Sorry, excuse me. I have notes on there as well, so it's just something I've been making notes on. I went through the whole document and took notes and
No, we don't have this, we don't have this,
we're not going to, sign a contract because we don't have to. This is the contract. This is what the Kentucky Board of Education says we will use going forward in the event that we do not have a contract. And we just, we're not able to, establish numbers between the two of us. So, I believe that this will be the best thing that we can use as we move forward with that non-resident situation.
So did they send us a list 30 days after this?
Yes.
And on that list, there was 137?
No, there was more. And then, we had to go back and forth. There was some, it's a fairly long story. I mean, in terms of I can get you my documentation of how all our correspondence, because we emailed several times. And, it was actually a different number initially.
well, I think what we're all saying, well, not necessarily, I'm saying that the last, request that we sent, agreement, had a number of about 100 kids, I think. And that's when all this hit the fan again.
There couldn't be 37, there's simply.
That,
Did they ever sign last year's?
No.
So in that, they just decided to go ahead and take everybody they could
Yeah, and see how much they can get by
and see
with.
if they could get by with it.
Well, remember, instead of signing an agreement, they filed this
Right.
appeal,
yeah,
and we litigated it and
That's what I
won.
mean.
right,
But now we have to be sure the numbers are accurate.
exactly.
Right.
And I'm not challenging Mr. Collier. I know you do
Right.
good thorough work. You're a good guy. You're a good administrator. But in years past, the figures we've been supplied may or may not have been accurate from our neighbors up the road.
Okay, well, I will, definitely go back. I have a spreadsheet that goes back from 2012 all the way to, 1920. And we have those numbers and,
1920 school year, not 1920.
yeah, right.
Not the year 1920, 1920 school year.
You probably feel like you have that many records.
Lose track of
We,
this.
Carl and I feel like we've been doing this since
I
1900.
guarantee you.
When is the last year that they actually signed an agreement?
I don't know the answer to that question, man.
It was
Sure,
the year
that
before
copy.
last.
Year before last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that 137 is higher than that, the last one they signed.
Yeah, so it can't go up.
And it should.
So this
should
went
not
down
have
at
went
one
up.
time, I
Should
was
went
looking
down
about
here.
94.
Okay.
It was around the,
Did it not go down to 94 or something?
I think maybe that's what we kind of estimated
Well,
it to
I
be
can't
this year.
remember exactly what it was.
I'll definitely put my mind to it, and I will look over it with Mr. Raby, because he is very knowledgeable about the situation. And, I will
Look
report
for
back
Ma-
to you what's
Look
going
for
on.
Mary Jane's and
with
Jane Mary's, whose
I
address is.
mean, the question to them would be, I would think, you know, here's the last agreement we had, it's supposed to go down every year, and now you got more than you had 2 years ago.
Mm.
How did that happen?
Impossible. I taught math, but I'm not very good.
If they want a fist fight, we'll do that.
It's all on them
Okay,
kids.
so, do you just need us to approve these?
Yes, you just have to vote, you have to go to a vote and vote on all of these in one fell swoop.
Okay,
You-
all right.
I don't wanna approve what race ones.
We already did.
I think there's nothing to approve on
Nothing.
Racelands, it's,
It's
you
already
just
done.
follow
It's
the
already
order.
a court order. We can't do nothing with it.
Well, they're not following the court orders.
Well, that's,
That number,
that's
that's up
totally
to
different.
him to figure out, that's not up to us.
Okay, all those in favor?
Alright.
Again,
I guess.
5-0. Okay, next up, let's approve approval of the ARC 504 chairpersons, 504 chairs for 2021 school year. Steve Branham, Missy Tackett, Brandy Literal, Amy Heineman, Melissa Latimer, Eric Keaton, Craig Wilburn, Chris Elster, Nathan Sutton, Jason Smith, Jennifer Deerfield, Sherry Tice, Daniel Gullett, Shannon Mills, Melissa Bowling, Joanna Zaff. Can I get a motion? I'll make that motion.
second.
Mr. Royce, your second. I think this is something we do every year.
Yes, it is.
All right,
They have all been trained and now they just need you to agree they can hold the meetings.
all right. Anybody have any questions? Do we all agree they can hold meetings? Say aye. All right, there you go. Okay, approval of 2020-2021 bond of treasurer. Consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracy to approve the bond of treasurer for the 2020-2021 school year for $738. Can I get that motion?
Motion.
Mr. Warnick?
Second.
Mr. Cotton, second?
You sure that's enough over
Yeah.
there, Becky?
Yeah, the, KDE actually increased that amount to 300,000 this year, so that's why it's a small increase over the last couple of years,
Oh.
so,
They did move a number up on you then.
yeah, no,
Okay. All those in favor?
Uh,
5-0. All right, next, consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracy to approve the local planning committee list for submission to Kentucky Department of Education. And the corrections were made that Lance sent. Okay. Can I get a motion?
Cool.
Okay, second? Let's go, Mr. Cotton.
I'll second.
Any questions? I think this is something we've talked about for a while, but, you know, COVID just kind of hit and there you go. So, all those in favor? 5-0. Next up, please consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracy to approve the health services agreement with King Stars Medical Center as submitted. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any questions?
All right, I'm sure she's gonna give us an overview here.
This is the,
I read it, but,
this is the exact, when we had the ladies come in right before COVID hit, we had King's Daughters come in and share with us the services that they could add to our schools. Or that the schools would be able to, the student could come down to the school nurse when they get there and they feel they have a fever, if they have had a waiver signed by the parents, a permission form by the parents to be able to see the child, then the nurse can call the nurse practitioner or the PA that may be on the other end of the line for King's Daughters that day that's assigned to our district. And basically we get to kind of serve as a type of clinic situation for that child. So that way the parent, if they come to pick them up because maybe they have tested positive for strep throat or flu, the parent can literally just come and pick them up from school, pick up the prescription at the same time, and all they have to do is go to the pharmacy. They don't have to go and sit in a doctor's office. So this is a good way to ensure that our kids are actually getting to the doctor in such busy times, and especially when kids might have elderly parents that can't really go and sit in a doctor's office with them, and they might be susceptible to things as well. So the ladies came and presented to you last year, and this is the contract from that presentation. we just did not get the contract right afterwards because I do believe King's Daughters got pretty busy in March.
Oh,
So, now that school year is starting back up again, and they know we're getting ready to try to bring students back in eventually, they wanna have this in place for us.
How does this impact, our local health department, Mr. Crum and his staff?
They work hand in hand. It doesn't take anything away from what the health department provides. It's just another support.
And this also doesn't cost the district anything. So that's because I know some of the school nurses asked me, I don't know what the district's paying for this, and I said, we're not paying anything for it.
No.
This is a service King's Daughters is offering, they bill the insurance of the parents,
They can also do Medicaid as well.
yeah. But I'll tell you, one of the ladies, I think that came in to speak, texted me the other day and said how lovely all the nurses were, and just everybody here at Greenup was just so friendly and just.
Yeah, they went on a tour and looked at the buildings to see and make sure that the facilities were what they needed. And I heard the same thing about those, them. They were very kind, so
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Anyway,
They are also going to come in and talk to our staff about safety and preparation for when they do have interactions with others while the COVID is going on, and talk about hand washing and proper procedures, and just kind of share with them their experiences of coming across people who do have it. So they'll do some educational work for our teachers and our instructional aides and bus drivers. It'll be good.
yeah, just to put their mind at ease a little more that, healthcare workers work with it. Work around people every day, so, okay, so we did the motion, we got the approve, now I need a vote. All those in favor? 5-0. Okay, next up, Greenup County School Board Resolution, sorry,
Did we skip something?
did I skip something?
We skipped over.
Maybe
Oh,
we did
tax
that on
rates, sorry,
I thought she did that on purpose.
no,
Make sure that's on.
y'all know how I do, I'll move along there. Next up, consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracy to approve the 2020-2021 tax rate as follows. 82.3 real property includes 0.2 cents for exonerations. 82.3 personal property includes 0.2 cents for exonerations, 49.4 for motor vehicles. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Royster, second.
Second.
Mr. Warnick? We are only taking the compensating rate, correct? Instead of
Yes.
the
Correct.
4%?
4%. This is the recommendation at this time, is to do the compensating, considering the state of the economy right now.
Right. Okay. All right, anybody have any questions?
It is what it is.
This is true. All right. All those in favor? Aye. 5-0. Okay, now, let's move on. Okay, Greenup County School Board Resolution regarding refinancing Series 2010 bonds. Resolution of the Board of Education of the Greenup County School District initiating the refinancing process in order to refund and retire school building revenue bonds, Series 2010 bonds, originally issued to finance the project, confirming the acceptance of an offer of assistance from the Kentucky School Facilities Construction Commission, authorizing and approving the execution of a participation agreement with said commission, authorizing and approving the execution of a contract, lease, and option with Greenup County School District Finance Corporation and any further necessary instruments, and approving the plan of the refinancing of said project generally.
Very good.
Makes
Mouthful.
a whole lot.
She
All right, can I
practiced
get,
that in
is
the
that a
car.
motion? Yeah, that's a motion. Okay, can I get that motion, please?
I didn't catch it.
Would you repeat that?
Yes. Okay, so,
Second.
did you get that?
Carl was a motion.
Huh?
Yes.
Oh.
You make a
That's-
motion?
Or the-
Okay, I thought you made the motion. That's all right, between you and I, we got it
I
done.
couldn't hear nothing.
It throws, it really does kind
It
of throw
does.
people's voice, yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? I feel like everybody texted you their questions today.
Yes, I got lots of questions. And I
Yes.
tried to give as many answers as I could, and if not, I said, hold that thought, I'll get back with you.
Yes, let me track them down.
But I'm
So-
glad you do. I would rather you ask me, because
Right.
transparency is the key thing. We got to get that out there. So.
Right.
It's good.
Okay, all those in favor?
Uh,
All right, 5-0. Next up, I need to get an approval to adjourn the meeting,
At
Motion.
6:10.
6:10. Mr. Cotton, did you second, Linda?
Yeah.
Second, Ms. Wellman? All those in favor? Okay, 5-0. Now, I feel like we should like
No, I feel like I need
go
to
change
explain
clothes or
this,
like
yes.
stage redo or something.
So because this is a district finance corporation, it's a separate meeting, so we're just kind of doing a meeting back to back. So for anyone that's tuning in, they can know what's going
Yeah.
on.
Okay, so let's call to order the Greenup County District Finance Corporation. Do you have to call roll again?
No, just be
Okay.
on. So
Consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracy to call to order the Greenup County District Finance Corporation. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Mr. Cotton, all those in favor? All right, next up, confirmation of officers. That would be, I don't know on here.
I don't see any names.
That's what we do.
Okay. Wait a minute, let me get this.
So traditionally,
Warnick?
traditionally, it would be Mary Kay as the president, as the sitting board chair, and then Lance as the vice. So
Okay.
that would be the motion.
I thought that was different too. 'Cause
it's
right-
only because there was an absence. I think you had
The
to
last
somewhere.
meeting you were absent, Mary Kay.
Oh,
So everything's fine.
Yep.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the
So
motion.
puzzled, because I was like, that's not what this is there.
It's different.
Yeah, we confirmed with Lincoln. He's on available through sale if we need to patch into him too. But
Okay.
we confirmed through Lincoln.
Okay, so president, me, vice president Lance Warnick, secretary Tracy Moracy, and treasurer Rebecca Fox.
Yep.
Okay. So can I get that motion?
Motion.
Mr. Cotton, second.
Second.
Ms. Wellman, all those in favor? Okay. Oh, another one. Okay, I practiced this today. Read it out loud.
I know, it's a lot.
Okay, Greenup County School District Finance Corporation Resolution. The resolution of the Board of Directors of the Greenup County School District Finance Corporation relating to and providing for the assurance of $1,065,000 principal amount, subject to a permitted adjustment of $105,000 of school building refunding revenue bond series of 2020, the refunding bonds, in accordance with the sections 58.180 and 162.120 through 162.290 and 162.385 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes for the purpose of refunding at or prior to the respective maturities the outstanding Greenup County School District Finance Corporation school building revenue bonds series of 2010, dated June 1, 2010, the prior issue, through the deposit and investment in the escrow fund of the net proceeds of the refunding bonds, providing for the creation of certain funds to effect the defeasance of the rights of the registered owners of the bonds of the prior issue, and the transfer of certain amounts into certain funds, providing for the right of the registered owners and said refunding bonds and the enforcement therefore, or thereof, and providing for an advertised public competitive sale of said refunding bonds. All right, that was a motion. I'll make that motion. Can I get a second?
So,
Mr. Royster? Okay. Questions? I think we all asked Tracy this today. All those in favor? All
Lance,
those
are
in
you good?
favor?
Aye.
Ms. Wellman? Aye. 5-0.
We
All right.
go from 395 to 220.
All right.
It's an overall savings of about $82,000.
That's great.
Okay.
Tell Mr. Lincoln to keep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
he's been watching that one for a while. He just finally decided to act on it. He knew it was gonna happen, but.
Okay, so you got the 5-0, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And next up, could I get a motion to adjourn the Greenup County District Finance Corporation meeting? Was that you? Okay, Mr. Warnick, I'll make that second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All Thank you.
Need an update from me?
No, because we just finished our meeting.